All right, everybody, welcome to Game Collecting When You're Broke as Fuck. We are all seasoned collectors, and we are also all not millionaires. So, been collecting for a long time, and we thought this would be a great panel to put together because, you know what, not everybody has all the money in the world to collect. Not everybody's a Neo Geo collector, you know?
No. It's a cheap system.
Oh yeah, totally.
Very accessible.
So to start with, we can introduce ourselves, and I am Kinsey Burke. You probably know me mostly from Metal Jesus Rocks. I also have my own YouTube channel, not as big, but you probably just know that I drink a lot of beer and collect a lot of games. And my main collecting specialties are, oh my god, I don't know.
How do you narrow it down?
I buy what I like.
There you go. Yeah.
I like imports, I like Sailor Moon, I like really cute games. I like games with good soundtracks, good arts, things like that. And I just kind of, I don't go for like a complete 64 set or whatever. Like, I just buy what I like. And the weirder, the better.
I am Radical Reggie, also from, you guys probably know me from the Metal Jesus channel. I also have my own channel, Instagram, Twitter, and all that stuff. And mostly, as you can tell, I'm mostly a PlayStation enthusiast. Oh, we got a couple people in here. There we go, yeah. But I do like everything. I'm not trying to collect like everything, but I just get the things I like. I'm not trying to complete a set. I almost completed a Virtual Boy set, but yeah, that ended bad. But yeah, I'm just we're just going to tell you guys some tips about how to pick up some games on the cheap and when you're broke. So.
I'm Ian Ferguson, and if you don't know me, that's for the best. If you do, I'm part of the Completely Unnecessary podcast. I started out collecting NES and got real burnt out on that real quick. Well, not real quick. I started doing that in like 98, 99, and sold everything off about 5 years ago. I've never been happier.
Right.
Probably get into that. It helps you save money when you only collect what you like. I collect black and white Game Boy in variants of the system. I collect PC Engine, and I collect Mahjong games for all systems. And that's a lot of fun. So yeah. Oh, and I also work in video game retail. I manage 2 independent game stores in San Diego, California, and I will try to provide some tips from that viewpoint.
I wanted to ask you real fast, how was collecting NES games back in like the late 90s? Like, was it?
So, Kinsey and I were actually talking about it when we were meeting up before the panel, and it was crazy. I was in high school in the late 90s. I graduated in 2000, and you know, when people found out I was into NES games, in reality, they had only been out of the limelight for what, 4 or 5 years, you know. And I could find kids in the lunchroom, and they'd find out I was into it, and they'd bring in boxes of their stuff, and for 20 bucks, I would get 30 games. And I'm talking, I remember specifically getting like Dragon Warrior 3, Dragon Warrior 4,
Right.
you know, I mean, we're talking all the heavy hitters, and yeah, it was fantastic.
Awesome.
Yeah, most systems seem to have a period after they're not big anymore where they tend to, no one cares for a couple years.
Yes.
And actually that's probably a really good segue.
That's a great segue. So, when it comes to collecting, on a budget, there's probably 2 things that really need to be stated. One, it's there's no way to do it quick and cheap.
Game collecting is definitely a marathon.
Yes.
It is not a sprint.
You can do it expensive and fast, or you can do it slow and cheap. And sometimes if you're lucky, you'll find that happy medium. So there's 2 ways to look at the best time to look for games if you just want anything cheap. One is, I would say probably 1.5 generations after it comes out. So if you're into collecting anything, you just want to amass games to play, the best time to pick up games is in the middle of the generation after. So right now we're at PS4, Xbox One, Switch, etc. And if you're not picky, there's really no better time to pick up PS3 games. If you go to any store, especially like a mom and pop shop or an independent shop, you're gonna find most of those games for about $3 to $5 a piece.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're talking basically everything good. And if you give that 6 more months to a year, you're gonna start seeing those titles creep upwards. That copy of Splatterhouse, that's probably $5 right now on the PS3. That's hard to find as it is, but no one wants to pay any money for right now. People will start paying money for that later down the road. It's not that it's an amazing game, although it's not bad, but there's things on there like, say, the Splatterhouse 1, 2, and 3.
Right.
That is going to make it more desirable.
Yes.
Yep.
The others,
We use Easy to get right now too.
Yeah, we
any
use
of those systems.
super
Yeah.
easy.
Xbox 360.
Yes.
Yeah.
and especially if you have some foresight, the Wii U stuff is definitely going to
Yeah, that's going to go
Oh.
away to Dreamcast, so yeah,
Yeah.
it's good to start getting that stuff now.
small install base. It's Nintendo, and that's going to lead to it being incredibly, most likely well sought after in the future.
Yep. And do you have anything to add for Retro Stores?
I was just gonna say, like, right now for the, what is it, the 7th generation is the PlayStation 3 generation?
Yes.
GameStop has buy 2, get 1 free, all that kind of stuff is happening right now. There's all kind of deals happening with those games. Pawn shops are trying to get rid of that stuff, so it's the best time to go for that generation of video games right now. They're like everywhere. They're usually on the cheap. Pawn shops, GameStops, thrift stores. Where else? Is there anything I'm forgetting?
And game stores are also really good. We were talking about this earlier. If you see a game suddenly jump in price, you know, like people complaining about the hidden gems going up, stuff like that, don't immediately go online because that's where the top dollar is going to be. Go to a brick and mortar store because they don't get price changes every day. At least not a lot of stores, especially not they're like, this is the hot new game, everybody. Like it doesn't really happen that way. So you can still get it for what it was. Get it for 20 instead of 60.
Even up to a month after a game gets notoriety, you can come to Luna Video Games 2 locations, San Diego, and let me think of an example. Anyone here like Sky Kid for the Nintendo? Great game, fantastic stuff. That game got a pretty incredible price bump from being featured on, I think it was James and like Mondays a few years ago. A game that was normally like $8 to $10 jumped up to 25 or 30, and people were upset. And then of course people wanted to play it, so they started to go to eBay, and then the price kept jumping up and up and up. Local stores had that game at its normal price for probably 3 to 4 months after that happened, and it took us forever to catch on. And I mean, I try to stay in touch with that, but if I've got 5 copies of it in the back, I'm not going to. I don't know, if 2 people buy it in the same week, I'm not going to immediately be like, why is this popular all of a sudden?
Yeah.
So I think we're kind of at a point where a lot of people think you can't necessarily find deals at mom and pop or specifically retro-themed video game stores because of how popular this has become. But you definitely can.
Oh yeah.
Because we're not corporate, we can't always stay on top of things like pricing trends as quickly as, say, corporate stores or something like eBay, which is immediate and user-defined.
Yeah, and I know like some stores, the more big and awkward a thing is, the more they just want to get it the hell out of the shop because it's just taking up so much space. So like things like rock band instruments, things like that. Like, don't go online for those. The shipping's horrible and it's awful.
Yeah.
Get them at retro stores because sometimes they're just like, oh my god, you want this? Take it! It's like, we do not want any more drums here. So the bigger and awkward, the better. Like, I got an Amiga at a retro store not that long ago because it was complete in box. So in the box, if you've never seen an Amiga box, it's a big fucking box.
Massive.
Like, so the computer's in this giant box and the monitor's in this giant box, and he's like, oh my god, I just don't want this.
Just take it, please.
Just take it. Like, and so I got it for under $100, like a complete in-box, beautiful Amiga that, should have gone for way more. It was like, but he didn't want it in the shop. Perfect deal for me.
We let a complete Rock Band set unopened, I think it was for $360, go for free about 2 months ago at work.
Altogether.
We don't. It wasn't unopened, but it was complete. I don't want to test that shit.
Yeah.
I don't want to pull that bullshit into the store and test it, sit there, yeah, it's 11:30 in the morning, I'm like, woo, jamming out. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I have no desire to ever hook up and test any of that equipment again. So we have a free bin. And honestly, if a store doesn't have a free bin, there's probably things that they tell you are free. Accessories, before you go online looking for like a steering wheel or a rock band guitar or a set of drums, a lot of these things, at least for us, I know, we just give them away. We don't want to test them. We don't want to warranty them. We can't fix them. And we don't get enough of them in regularly to be able to have anything in backup to be like, okay, yours broke, so here it is. So,
are they missing parts a lot too? Like when you get them, like you have to find what
I mean,
parts?
sometimes they are, but a lot of times they're just complete. But yeah, I mean,
yeah.
sometimes they're not.
Yeah.
But still, it's just, look around. Some of this stuff is literal trash to video game stores, and yet you can pay money for it, or.
But why, if you don't have to?
Yeah, do the equivalent of dumpster diving without going in an actual dumpster, and see if you can take their trash before they take it out for you.
Definitely. And since we're at a convention, we should also go over tips for being at a convention and how to get deals here.
Yes.
So you can go out and work your guys' magic after this. But I would definitely say at a convention, they are like sometimes more retail prices, which is fine, but they're also a little bit more loosey-goosey. They don't want to take it all home with them.
Right.
So if you want to ask for a deal, make sure you have a couple things from one vendor. I think is the best way to do it. Don't be a dick and be like, hey, I want this one game, and can I get a half off thing? You know?
It's $5. Brothers, I want it for $3 right now. This is all I'm buying.
Yeah, the best thing to do, usually if you want to deal on something, you know, just go up to them, be polite, of course, you know, and ask them if they're firm on the price for a certain thing, you know, don't say what you would pay for, because that's really rude, and it might just cut you off from that point. You know, say, are you firm on this? Is this what you want for it? So, and you can work something from there. So that's already being polite. They already look at you in a different light from somebody who just say, oh, this is only worth this much. That's
oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's a good tip, though.
Yeah, definitely. I think being nice, I think, is going to work in every single one of these categories. You know, rule number one to getting deals and getting building a community is to be nice and don't be a dick, because like it's really easy in this community to get a reputation for being like screwing people over or being hard to deal with or being flaky on deals. Like it's really easy for that kind of news to travel.
Yes.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, don't ever flake out on a deal.
Yeah, just be nice to people. It's not that hard. All right, and then another tip for conventions that I usually do, because I try not to go to conventions looking for that one thing, that holy grail item that I'm just, willing to pay top dollar for, like I don't do that. But if you wait until like Sunday afternoon, and you're just looking for like commons or things to fill in your collection, things like that, by Sunday afternoon, people are like, oh my god, I don't want to take all this stuff home with me. And people will be like, okay, you want commons? Deal. Like, we're gonna make a deal here. Like, they're so much more willing to clear out their inventory later in the convention. And start thinking about all that stuff they gotta bring home.
Yeah, I got a couple of free things, like people didn't want to take back with them at the end of Sunday, so that was pretty cool.
Oh yeah.
A real good one is, doesn't matter if it's early on or later in the convention, although later on the convention compounds it. If you've got friends who are looking for games from the same system or in the same era, basically if you can find a booth that has things that you and your friends are both looking for, and you are friendly with them, or you feel like you could probably work a deal, go and combine all your purchases at once.
Yeah.
Get your friends' money, go and make the deal, and then split it up with your friends afterwards. I've done that so many times, and it has saved me anywhere from $20 to $30 on a series of large purchases.
The more you buy, the more likely they're going to give you a deal.
Yes, the more you buy, the more you're going to save. So even if you're not buying all of it, just make it look that way.
Yeah.
Make it look like you're the one doing all the purchasing, and then spread that wealth out with your other friends. Like that's a solid one that I feel like works. It's a foolproof way to save, $10 to $20.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. And we're gonna move on to thrift stores,
Yes.
which is my favorite.
That's I'm a fish out of water in thrift stores. We have no good ones in San Diego.
We have thrift stores are hit or miss, I think, almost in any part of the country. Like,
Yeah.
the one thing you have to realize about thrift stores is, like, whenever I post my pickups, I'm like, yeah, I got it at Goodwill. People are like, oh, I went to Goodwill today and I didn't find anything. And I'm like, well, okay. Most of the time when I go to Goodwill, I don't find anything either. Like,
It's persistence.
yeah, you go often. Finding out what days certain thrift stores do restocks is really good, because that way you can be the first one, because things can go really fast. Because a lot of people, you know, they rely on Goodwill for like being eBay resellers and stuff like that, so they go every day. And like, for example, Goodwill, I don't ever go on Mondays. Mondays, it is always, you know, everything's gone from the weekend. They get the most donations over the weekend, so they're probably still like sorting through a lot of it. And Monday is a Goodwill clear out day. That's when they normally have the like $1.29 days. Like if you're looking for like t-shirts and shit, then yeah, Mondays are great. But if you're looking for like video games and like more specifically like just harder things to find or things that are worth more, things like that, Monday's not a good day to go to Goodwill. You learned something.
Yeah.
I don't know how common it is, but most cities have a couple electronic recycling centers.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that can dovetail into thrift stores.
Oh, definitely.
San Diego has an electronics recycling center, and the amount of interesting video game related stuff you can find there for next to nothing is pretty damn high.
Mm-hmm.
It's buy it as is. They do try to test it, and they usually put tags on it. But if you have electronics recycling centers in your area, check them out, because it's an easy place for people to send bulk electronics, and it's just stuff they want to get rid of. It doesn't mean it's broken. I don't know what leads people to donate stuff to electronics recycling centers instead of trying to sell it, but literally our electronics recycling center in the past year has had a pinball machine,
Nice.
2 metal DDR dance pads that they let go of for $10 a piece. One of them had a cut cord that literally just needed some solder gun.
Did you buy out of it? I was like, you should have. No.
It's kind of funny because my friend, he actually works at one of those, and they got a lot from Goodwill. It was like PSPs, like all these crazy games, like all this rare stuff.
Yeah,
and
but
it's amazing. They were gonna destroy it. They said, "You
people
want this?"
don't go to electronics recycling
Yeah.
centers. They don't, I mean, even the ones that don't advertise it usually have a small storefront.
Yeah.
A lot of them are student run or associated with the college, but the stuff you get there is nuts. And those DDR pads sat there for 3 weeks before someone picked them up. And the reason I didn't is because I don't have the frickin' space.
Yeah.
I wanted them. I looked at them lustily the entire time they were there. And the pinball machine was just not one that I was looking for. But I mean, it
Also
was
huge though.
yes, also very huge, and I already have one, and I don't have room for another one ever.
What, was it working?
It needed a couple new coils, and I'm not handy with anything. I can barely tie my shoes, and I can replace a coil. So coils aren't bad. But I mean, in addition to like, you know, video game related stuff, I mean, there's PlayStations there for like $2, PlayStation 2s for 10, and it's all a matter of picking it up, taking it over to the testing counter, plugging it in, and going, okay, this works.
Yeah.
And then you pay the nice people and you go home.
Yeah.
With very, very cheap video game related stuff. You're not going to find games, but hardware, controllers.
Yeah.
Oh, my favorite pickup from there. 2 perfectly working PC Engine controllers. Why there were 2 PC Engine controllers in an electronics recycling center in San Diego, California, I have a fucking clue, but it was like $6.
That's awesome.
I was like,
Nice.
okay, well, I'm going to take these home. This is
Yeah.
great. What a Saturday. I didn't think I was going to finish it.
Well, now I want to share my good.
Do it.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah, go for it.
I went to Goodwill in Ballard in Seattle, and I was just looking around. At first I didn't really see anything. I was kind of back by where like you would find game controllers, a lot of TV remotes, so many TV remotes. And I was digging and I was like, oh, that controller looks kind of nice. And I picked it up and I was just like, woo! It was a launch team, I made it Xbox 360 controller. And then I was like internally screaming and externally screaming. And I was just like, oh my god, I found it! And then I was like, looked over and I'm like, it's another one! So I found 2 launch team controllers in the same like Goodwill trip, and I was like, my mind is blown. I can't function. Like, I need alcohol or Xanax or something. Like, I don't know. Yeah. And it was like insane, and they were priced at $3.99 each. And they're like, it's really hard to find comparable value on those kind of things because there's like not that many.
Right.
But they're like $150 controllers at least.
Yeah.
So I was just like, God dang it.
So, yeah, it's weird. There's, for me, like with the Electronics Recycling Center, I discovered that about a year and a half ago.
Mm-hmm. There's a PC recycling place like walking distance from my house. So I walk down there, look and peruse, yeah.
There is more than flea markets, there's more than mom and pop shops, there's more than conventions. You just have to look. Like, there's so much more in your city that probably has video game shit laying around. Right. And I dread the day that people find out about the Electronics Recycling Shop because...
Well, good job!
None of you come to San Diego. Those DDR dance pads won't last 3 weeks.
No, not anymore.
No, absolutely not.
One thing I have noticed as well, if you are into trading for games, which is another fantastic way to get what you want, if you go to thrift stores often, if you see something that would be great trade bait and it's a great price, even if you don't need it, and if you have the money, pick it up. If it's like a couple bucks, you know, like a Mario or something, like something that's going to be worth something to somebody else.
Right.
And on that note, Reggie, you are the trade master. Tell us your ways.
Trade master.
Yes, I usually I bring a lot of trades to these shows and like stuff that people will possibly want, to get things cheaper, so I don't have to pay that much cash because I only bring like a certain amount of cash to these. And it's like this time I brought like $100, so I'm trying to make that last. And the trades have really helped. I got it.
Yeah, look at this.
Cool stuff already. And, it's very important because a lot of people don't know that, but bringing trade will help you at these events. People are more than willing to accept it usually. So trade, and also I wanted to tell my story of finding something pretty cool. This was a few years ago. I didn't have a Well, I did have a Dreamcast, or maybe I didn't. I don't know. I didn't have a Dreamcast at the time. This was back in 2014, and I went to this swap meet. It's called the BNI. It's in Tacoma, and there's a clothing shop, and the clothing shop had this glass case. And I looked at it, I was like, whoa, there's games and stuff in there. And I said, how much are the games? She said, everything's $10, like everything, like it doesn't matter what it was. So I saw a Dreamcast game and it was Ill Bleed. And Ill Bleed for $10. And also The Ring is another Dreamcast game, and I got those, and that pretty much kickstarted my Dreamcast collection. Like I started collecting Dreamcast after that. I got a rare game, and that just started my Dreamcast collection. I'll never forget how mind-blowing I was.
That initial shock.
That was amazing.
Everything in this case is $10?
Everything.
Really? Okay,
Yeah.
really?
I kept asking her, is everything sure? Yes, everything. And that was that. And now I got a solid Dreamcast collection. So ever since that moment, I just really been like, I've always hunted for stuff like that, or trying to find good deals, and make me passionate. So. Yeah, it might take that moment for you guys to get real passionate too. Like you find that rare game all of a sudden and like, whoa, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And you just go out and start hunting and get some good tips for you guys. So
it's the thrill of the hunt.
It's the thrill.
Well, there is something to be said about getting really into a genre no one gives a shit about, like mahjong games, because boy, you get nothing but good deals when you're looking for mahjong games. I mean, I can have all of these for 50 cents a piece. My God.
Yeah.
Okay. Hold on.
Deal.
A sports game in Japan.
They are. Do you use Facebook groups and stuff for trades too?
I used to. At my experience, there was some weird people on there. So I seen people get ripped off. Like they send the item and then they don't get the item in return. So I'm very cautious on that. With friends, I'll do it, but somebody I don't know, I'm just usually oh, I'm good. But have you tried it on there yet?
I haven't. I know John Riggs and stuff does it. I've done a lot of beer trades.
Oh.
Facebook groups.
Me too.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah, we've done beer trades.
We've done beer trades. But yeah, people really want that alcohol in return, so it's generally a lot easier.
They'll hunt you down.
All right, and then there's also another good place to get deals, which is also very similar to thrift stores where you're not going to find stuff every time, is garage sales.
Ah, yes.
And the nice thing about garage sales is a lot of times people put them in the newspaper. So you can still like look up, be like, okay, this area is going to have a lot of garage sales today. You can like map it out. Like you can be very organized when it comes to garage sales. And at least in Seattle, I don't know if they do it in all areas, but we have like a West Seattle garage sale day or a Capitol Hill garage sale day where like that's the day that everyone has a garage sale in that neighborhood. And so that's usually when I go out because I like doing the like more bang for my buck thing. If I'm gonna go garage selling, I'm gonna hit a buck ton of garage sales.
Right.
And like, and one thing when people are selling at a garage sale, they're in the mindset to get rid of stuff.
Yes.
And they don't always think about everything they're gonna put out. So I always ask, I'm like, hey, do you have any video games? And sometimes if people don't play video games, you have to think about your terminology. So then if they are like, well, I don't know, Atari. Then you're like Atari, Nintendo, stuff like that. Try to use like very, very, very common terms for video games because not everyone is like video game lingo savvy. And then they're like, if you're like, oh, Nintendo, they're like, oh yeah, Jimmy left some Nintendo stuff here.
Right.
Like,
that's when you want to hit
he went to college, and you're like, yes, get that. Like,
and then they pull out like this PlayStation, and you're like, yes,
deal.
Nintendo. I want to buy this Nintendo.
That's definitely happening. And I'm like, yep, that's what I want.
All of this CD-ROM based Nintendo. That's what I want.
But garage sales are great because you can usually find good deals, especially if they're just looking to offload, if they don't know what it is. But
how many do you usually hit when they're in season?
In season, I'll try to do at least 10 if I go out.
I get depressed after I go to the first one if it's missed. I'm like, oh man.
That's true.
Like,
I
try
do
not to be
that
that way.
too sometimes.
Bunch of dusty ass baby clothes.
Yeah. I don't want to go to another
A
one.
weird kind of dirty kiddie pool. You're like, ooh.
But you got to go to multiple ones in one day if you're gonna find
Everything
something.
smells like beige.
Yeah.
Beige had an odor. It would be garage sale.
Garage sales are like the weirdest thing. Like I've stumbled into ones that were like someone who obviously went to like Renaissance fairs, but they priced it like Renaissance fairs.
Yes.
So I was like, I'm gonna buy any of this.
Nope.
But I would like some elf costume. Like, but garage sales are so weird. Or yeah, a lot of you stumble into one and it's like baby clothes and like kind of dirty plastic toys, and you're like, ooh.
That's my problem. I see anything colorful, I'm like, sweet, I'm there, and then I walk up and it's
You're
like,
like,
this
oh,
is
God.
all airplane spoons from when you had a 3-year-old. I don't want any of this.
Yeah.
Nice
So
color choices, but no.
they're very hit or miss. But always ask is the biggest tip for those.
Yeah, just ask.
Yeah, just ask.
Yep.
But what are they gonna say? No? Like, what's like the worst that can happen?
And they point you over to their collectible spoons.
They're like, well, I have this nice thimble collection. Can I? And so we'll just move on to just kind of our basic like tips now. And so one of my big ones is my day job is unrelated to video games. Most people there do not play video games, but they know I play video games. And I will let everybody know that I collect and play video games because I have coworkers bring me stuff when they're like, yeah, my cousin gave this to me and I don't really have this and I don't care and you take it, and that's happened quite a few times. And I never tell them if it's good or bad. Because once you start like being like, oh, I'll take this one, but I don't want people who don't know anything about video games, they might start judging for themselves before you have a chance to see it. So whatever they offer you, just take it. Like, it's a better outlet for you to take it if you're already a collector, because you have a way to pass it on to somebody else if you don't want it, or sell it, or trade it, or whatever. But just always just be nice. Again, just be nice.
Yeah, if someone's gonna gift you a bunch of games, don't do the picking and choosing right there. Take them all,
gosh, yeah.
and then offload the rest of them later.
Yeah.
You've always got a place to offload it. Don't worry about the space. I mean, don't take it home and put it in a corner and let it sit there for too long, because then it becomes a permanent fixture.
Yep.
But take it home and get rid of it. I would also say if you go to a store, a retail store, do not immediately walk in and be like, so are these prices negotiable? No, because I'm going to be like, no, they're not. They're absolutely not negotiable because you're a dick. Talk to the person. Buy some stuff. You'd be amazed at how many times I give people $5 off or a few bucks off just because they're nice and friendly and knowledgeable and they're buying stuff. And the likelihood of that going down, not happening, is increased about 100% as soon as you walk in and start treating a store that we pay rent on like it's a flea market or a
Yeah.
garage
Yeah.
sale. Yeah.
My tip would be, make friends with people, You could find out if you have a common interest, and just, go from there, And if you're friends with somebody, most likely they're going to hook you up with a deal possibly later in the future. That's very important, I made friends with one of the craziest people. You remember that store Game Monster? If you've been there?
Oh yeah.
The old man, he's antisocial. He's really off, and he'll even tell you if you ask him a price for a game, oh, you can't afford that. No, don't buy that. I'm dude,
it's too expensive.
What I started doing is I started going in there hey, how you doing? Oh man, you look great, man, and all that stuff. And then next thing you know, I would talk to him for a while, and then next thing you know, he started hooking up really cool deals, and I was like, wow. I actually bought from him Cold Flying Squadron for a Sega CD back in 2013 for $100.
Nice.
$100. So
Nice.
he had $250 on it. So you see the drop in price he's looking at with. So make friends with people. Find out if you have a common interest, and go from there. It really goes a long way.
It does. Pissing someone off to save 50 in the moment is going to cost you hundreds in the long run.
Yeah. I think whatever I can take away from this is be nice and don't be a dick.
Yep.
It's key to getting good deals for the most part. And so we have 10 minutes left, so we want to open up for questions. Anyone got questions?
Yeah.
Do we have an extra microphone, or we can try yelling? We'll try that first.
I want to ask you a question about the thrift stores. Do you ever have because there's Goodwills, which is the Walmart of thrift stores. Do you ever go to the tiny, shady looking thrift store?
I do.
Do you find you have better luck with those, or?
It really depends, because Goodwill's okay, and sometimes you get a pricer who doesn't give a shit that day. So sometimes there are deals there, but sometimes I completely agree that sometimes Goodwill does try to do more retail pricing, and sometimes it's really weird, and I don't know. But I do Value Village, or around my place, we have one that's run by a church.
Yeah, we got a lot
Yeah.
of those in Canada.
Yeah.
There's Salvation Armies, and
Yeah.
money goes to women in shelter.
Exactly. I do go to those, and if there are games there and they're not one of the more overpriced ones, because there's one little one by me that is tries to be more of a vintage shop, and I'm ooh, no thank you.
Yeah.
But usually the little ones, sometimes I do have really good luck there, especially on disc games, because they'll bundle them in with CDs and stuff when they don't know.
Yeah.
So that's usually what I do when I go to stores like that.
Oh yeah, always check the CD racks at
Yeah, you'll find some stuff.
Yeah, always check the CD racks at thrift stores. There's always games mispriced and shoved in there.
Those stores are good, just as long as they don't look like they'll kidnap you or something. If you go in there, you're good to go. Just make sure.
It's a thrill of the hunt.
Thrift store looks like you can get food poisoning from it, like it's a dirty restaurant, but they serve no food. How'd I get salmonella from here?
Any more questions?
It's not really a question, I just had some suggestions as well for collecting video games cheaply. So when I go to flea markets, I'll do the same thing of just say a vague term and bundle things together. I found a Dreamcast with some N64 controllers kind of with it. I just grabbed those video game, and I was $10.
Nice. Yeah.
I just use video game, and if people really don't know what it is, they'll just hand it.
Yep.
Also, just kind of a suggestion, I personally have had great luck with any kind of religious thrift store, because oftentimes it's volunteer run, and they're just, like you said, throwing them all in the CD or DVD bin. And so you really do have to sift through it because it's mixed up with a bunch of stuff. Also, if you live near a company, like Microsoft is up in Redmond, there's a Goodwill right across the street from that campus, and boy, do they have a lot of Xbox games.
Yeah.
Sir.
So for you said going to garage sales, hitting them in bulk, about how many, so you said you do about 10, does that take most of the day, or?
It depends. If there's a garage sale day, then there's a ton of garage sales in that one neighborhood. Because I don't know if your neighborhood does it, but mine does, where they're just West Seattle garage sale day. It's when everyone does garage sales. So then it's a lot easier, and I can hit 10, 20 before lunch. But if it's not a day like that, then yeah, it will take all day.
Yeah, so you got to get up early.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another question.
When you get like a console that doesn't work, like say like PS2, something that doesn't have a disk drive or something like that, what do you guys do with it afterwards?
We just don't take them in. You mean at like the store?
Well, I mean like you go to your shop.
For your personal collection or something.
I just don't pick them up. Yeah, I wouldn't. I mean, honestly, ever since I found out about that e-recycling center, anything we get like that, even at the store that accidentally sits around for too long, we just shuffle it out as quick as possible. Unfortunately, with a lot of those modern systems, semi-modern systems, I'm old. I still feel like the PS2 is kind of modern. There's not a lot of parts and stuff that you can really sacrifice from it, so they don't serve a lot of purpose to me or the store. So yeah, we take them there, and then obviously like they do a large amount of actual recycling. They just take care of it. They don't always put that stuff back on the floor. So yeah, there's nothing lots of people can find will fix it up or do something with it. That's not what I'll do with it.
It depends on the console for me. If it's one of the more expensive ones,
Sure.
then maybe I'll pick it up. But I also have the luxury that my partner is the video game repair person at another castle, so that's helpful. So if it's one of the more expensive ones, I will. But like broken PS2s, Xboxes, stuff like that, they're a dime a dozen. So get someone further back. Yeah, this guy.
I know we're talking about saving money, but I'm just curious, what's the most you guys have spent on a game personally, and what game was it?
Man, this is embarrassing.
I'll start off. I regretted it as soon as I did it. I tried to cancel it, but the guy took the money. But it was actually Magical Chase for the Game Boy Color, complete in box. The sister version of the what was it on, the Triple Graphics? Yeah, the main one. Yeah, it was that one. I paid $300 for it, and I immediately regretted it. I tried to cancel, and he's like, nope. But I'm happy I have it, but I regretted it right after I did it. That's the most I spent on a game.
I'm trying to think. I know. Thank you.
Oh. 5 minutes? Wow, that went fast.
I know I bought Magic Knight Ray Earth, and I spent $85 on it, which is not that bad.
Recently?
No.
Okay. Wow.
A couple years ago. It was still a pretty good deal, but I was still like,
Yeah, that's a good deal.
Yeah.
$80.
What color disc did you get? What was the variant color disc? Because they have these 3 variant colors that are like rare.
Yeah.
And you get those get those.
3 different disc designs.
Damn it, I gotta buy more Ray Earth.
So,
They're not $80 anymore.
Nope.
But I bought a lot of like console variants that I've spent way too much money on because I'm a sucker.
Yeah. So, I mean, the most expensive game it's not the most expensive game I own, but the most expensive game I paid money for. The original run of Nexer for the PC Engine. It's a top-down shooter. It's one of my favorite games on the system. I think I paid about $250 for that. The Summer Carnival version is cheaper, but I had to have the cutscene in the beginning because I like PC Engine cutscenes. And then she's not in here. I bought Vani Radiant Silver Gun for her birthday like 2 years ago, and that's, I mean, that is on the nose like $200 at all times for a nice copy.
Yep.
But I don't pay. I have some expensive games, but we're doing this panel for a reason.
Yeah.
We're not rich. We wait for good deals.
Yep.
yes.
Exactly.
I did not pay $500 for my copy of Sapphire. I worked a good deal for that one.
Nice. One more question? You said?
A quick thing with like thrift stores and Goodwill, if you donate stuff to a thrift store, they're more likely to give you a coupon.
Oh,
They'll
yeah.
help you when you buy stuff.
True.
Goodwill will always send you a monthly coupon, 20% off.
Ooh.
You save $20.
Yeah. And Value Village has like a membership too, and it's free to sign up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Look for those deals at thrift stores.
Cool.
Nice.
All right. What time is it? Oh, we got 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
All right. Let's
2
go
weeks.
further in the back. You back people got questions? Yes.
We got answers.
Hat. Yes.
Okay.
We've got ears.
Yeah. It's a quick yes question out for Kinsey, and then a totally on-topic question.
Mhm.
Do you have the orange Game Boy Advance?
I do. The
Okay.
Spice one?
The Japanese?
Yeah, I do. It's in my Spice family.
And the on-topic question, I've got a whole suitcase full of games to trade, but nobody seems to want the games that I brought. So do you have good examples of what types of games you should bring to trade with?
If you go to like an expo, and where there's like a lot of stores and less individuals, the best stuff I think is, well, rare-ish stuff, not super rare because that's harder to flip. But I mean the stuff that's gonna sell. Mario Kart,
absolutely.
Zelda, like
N64.
all that stuff that'll
Mega
Man, all that stuff that'll jump off the shelves at a store. Stores are so much more likely to pick that kind of stuff up and want to deal with a trade in a situation like this.
It's not rare, but it's evergreen, and stores always need that shit on their shelves.
Yep.
You might not think a copy of Mario 2 is exciting, but most stores will gladly take it for something because they always need it, especially as we go into Christmas.
Yep.
All right, guys. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.